And welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. We do have some breaking news right now of a really scary incident there happening at Reagan International Airport in the Washington, D.C. area. That's from our Fox 5 Skycam right now. According to D.C. Fire and EMS, I want to put this tweet up here. Take a look at what they are reporting, that confirmed that a small aircraft is down in the Potomac River vicinity near Reagan National Airport. They say fireboats are on the scene, and you can see just how massive of a emergency management response is going on right now. So it's about 9:18 there in the nation's capital. If you're familiar with Reagan, if you're familiar with DCA, you know that parts of the tarmac are right near the Potomac River shore, and that is what we are learning, that confirmed, according to D.C. Fire, that a small aircraft is down in the Potomac River vicinity of Reagan Airport. Fireboats are on the scene. So I want to be very precise with our language here. I'm not entirely sure if that means that this small aircraft is down in the Potomac, fully near the Potomac, or say near the tarmac, near the Potomac at DCA here. So we are working to get all of that confirmed. Those are the questions I have right now. But they did confirm that fireboats are on the scene. So whatever emergency management response this is, those fireboats have been deployed for their relevant tasks, whether or not that is trying to rescue the aircraft, those on board the aircraft, and the like here. So we're going to stay in this. This is the only shot that we have right now. Some of our Fox 5 DC colleagues are also working to learn more details here. Take a look at this. From Shirin Raji there, saying confirmed small aircraft down in the Potomac River near Reagan. Fireboats on the scene. Reagan National saying all takeoffs and landings have been halted at DCA. Now the terminals remain open. Okay, so another new piece of information. It seems like a ground stop is in place there at Reagan International Airport. Yes, the terminals remain open, but no planes are landing, no planes are departing right now as we speak at Reagan. Let's take it back live here. This is our vantage point from this Fox 5 Skycam looking over the Potomac near Reagan. And you can see, though, how many of those flashing lights there are on the scene. So remember, details are very preliminary at the moment. Information is very scarce at the moment. We do not know what type of aircraft went down. All we know is it is a small aircraft, according to DC Fire. We don't know how many people were on board that said small aircraft. And hopefully those details will become more apparent in the minutes and hours ahead. So as you know, in the D.C. area, 3 major airports serve the D.C. area. Reagan, also known as DCA. Then you got Dulles. And then you, of course, have Baltimore Airport as well, not too far away. But you can see there a lot of flashing lights, a lot of sirens. Appears they're all kind of congregated there. We also have somewhat of a zoomed out vantage point. Let's take that. This is just another angle. Oh, okay. In this angle, you can see the tarmac there. You can see even some planes still taxiing what appears to be. Wow. I thought we were under the impression that there is a ground stop. From what we understand, there is a ground stop right now at Reagan. But right now, look at all of that emergency response. So this is shaping up to be quite the breaking news story right now. Remember, information is very preliminary and is very scarce. And that's what happens during these very fluid breaking news situations. All we know, according to DC Fire, is that a small plane has confirmed crashed. And we're also learning from Reagan Airport itself that all takeoffs and landings have been halted at DCA. They say emergency personnel are responding to an aircraft incident on the airfield, but the terminals remain open. So Right now, that is what I'm grappling with. Is this small plane crash on the tarmac, on the airfield, or in the Potomac? Okay, D.C. police saying this, that Metropolitan Police Department, they're responding to an apparent air crash in the Potomac River. They say multiple agencies are responding. Details to come. Okay, so there you have it. That answered my question on whether or not the crash took place on the airfield near the Potomac shore or in the Potomac itself. D.C. police saying the apparent air crash is in the Potomac River. And might I add, I'm not trying to compare stories by any means, but mere weeks ago, at about this very time, we were over a similar scene at the Arlington National Bridge that spans the Potomac of reports that a truck had collided with a car and plunged deep below into the Potomac. And we learned later that the driver and the passenger, they were brothers, perished from that very crash when their car submerged into the Potomac on a very snowy, blizzardy, wintry night here. So that was the last kind of transportation accident having to do with the Potomac River that we brought you here on Live Now from Fox. Of course, this is an entirely different situation because it does involve now a small aircraft. Another key piece of information that we'll be working to get you is whether or not this aircraft was landing at the time or taking off at the time. We don't know what type of aircraft it is. We don't know how many people were on board. We don't know either where it was going or where it was coming from. It's a flight manifest or flight itinerary. Like I said, we just got this about 5 minutes ago, and information is scarce. Details are preliminary at the moment, but I flew into Reagan in November, and you fly literally over the National Mall, over the Potomac, down into the tarmac. It's really right in the heart of Washington, if you're not familiar. But if you're just joining us, we're almost at the bottom of the hour. It's about 9:25 there in the nation's capital. And we just got these reports confirmed by D.C. Police, by D.C. Fire, and by Reagan Airport itself that an apparent air crash in the Potomac is what all of those emergency management vehicles are responding to right now. Let's zoom out. We have another vantage point here. Somewhat of a little blurrier vantage point, but you can see the major response nonetheless. Let's take our other shot. So take a look at that. This is a live picture right now. We're going to keep this up. We're working to get more information for you. Stand by. So as you can imagine, if you're a flyer at Reagan right now, everything has now ground to a halt. Yes, the terminal remains open, but no flights are taking off and no flights are landing there because of this incident. And I would imagine our Fox 5 DC team will be getting on the ground very shortly, and we will probably have another vantage point to show you. But as of right now, those are the details we know. So as is customary with these aircraft crashes, the FAA usually investigates, as does the NTSB. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but that is historically how these investigations go. If some of my producers can give me a sense of the weather conditions at the time there in Washington, you never know. That could always play a factor as the investigations will, no doubt, begin into what may have caused this crash. But for fear of speculation, we won't get into the potential causes just yet. We'll wait for officials to tell us in their investigations. I would imagine A little bit later on, there will be some type of on-camera press conference, either by D.C. Fire or D.C. Police. Like, again, don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but that is how these breaking news situations go. All right, so some of my producers telling me weather conditions on the ground there in D.C. Apparently there was some type of wind advisory in effect. But you can see in our shot right now as we approach 9:30 there in Washington, a pretty clear vantage point, pretty clear conditions right now at nighttime of this massive, massive response. So remember, we were just told that a small aircraft has crashed into the Potomac River near Reagan Airport in Washington, leading to a ground stop there at Reagan. Don't really know yet how long this ground stop is going to be in place, but I would imagine it is going to snarl air traffic for some time. I always say that based and due on the amount of emergency management vehicles we are seeing. We cover tarmac incidents here and there, but those do not necessitate usually a response as massive as that. So we are relying on our Fox 5 DC, what they call their Skycam, looking across the Potomac at what appears to be the very fringe of the tarmac there at Reagan. And they have yet another vantage point as well. Let's take that. Somewhat similarly across from the river itself, but a different angle, looking at Reagan. I'm keeping this up because I think it's a better angle. You get a sense of where and how close the terminal is with the planes parked there at the tarmac, at their gates, right behind. And you can see the flashing sirens reflected in the Potomac, in the river below. Take a look at that. So just want to set the scene here. If you're just joining us, we are at the bottom of the hour officially. And you can see that we are now over this breaking news situation as a small aircraft, according to D.C. Fire and D.C. Police, has crashed into the Potomac River near Reagan National Airport. According to D.C. Fire, they say fireboats are on the scene in the water. And so we're going to keep this shot up, and hopefully we will get a bit more information. This airport you're familiar with the D.C. area, or if you're not, it's about 5 miles from the White House. So it is, I'm not kidding, essentially in the heart of the nation's capital. When you fly into Reagan, you fly over the National Mall, you fly over the monuments, and you land there just on the shore of the Potomac, or off the shore, I should say. So I wanted to get all of this in here. We're going to keep this up. Again, we're going to be in touch with our Fox 5 DC crews, Fox 5 team, if they, and I would presume that they are going to go down to the scene, get on the ground as close as they can. Remember, in situations like this, when news crews do descend there on the scene, authorities do keep them back somewhat in order to keep them safe and to not interfere with the investigation. The investigation, of course, no doubt will be underway very, very soon, but this is a very active scene right now. And unfortunately, we can't see the aircraft in question. So, and I don't want to speculate here, but presumably if it has crashed into the Potomac,